I've got time for one question. Can I ask those monitoring the chat lines or a standout question for the panellists, please?
I've got one for you if you want one, Chair.
Why isn't the Minister here? That's the question a lot of us are asking.
I'm not sure that any of the panellists can answer that.
We can't answer that one, I'm afraid.
And I can't either.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I think Julie has just popped a great question on the chat room saying what can be done from here.
It's probably a good question to end with.
I don't know, we're in the middle of an election campaign, but in a weird way, it doesn't really feel like an election campaign, and COVID has dominated so much of the debate, and rightly so, over the last 2 years. But really, the next election is really about the next 4 years, and hopefully we are talking about more than just COVID in 4 years' time. And I suppose to everyone who's participating in this forum and everyone who cares about heritage, let's make heritage a real issue for the election. Let's make planning a real issue for the election, because they are really true issues. They're issues that affect people's lives every single day, and they're issues that parliamentarians should really be across to get the best benefit for heritage and protection, but more importantly for the people of South Australia, what it means to be out for our community. So for those people who care about heritage, I would say out there, go and support a candidate wherever you are, or in the lower or upper house, that cares about heritage as much as you do.
Okay, thanks, Frank Pangallo. Just in 2 sentences, where to from here?
Just saw a comment that just popped up about, well, do we need to also acknowledge 20th century architecture? Well, of course we do, because it'll eventually be part of our past and whatever. And we do have some good examples of 20th century architecture out there as well. I think from here, and as Sam has said, we need to be mindful that we cannot allow our culture, our heritage, particularly our heritage buildings, our parklands, to be affected by ongoing development, and things need to be done to ensure that these important places that are important to our community are preserved, and that governments and opposition members consult with the community a lot more and engage with them before making decisions.
Thank you. Now, the Honourable Robert Sims, the Greens.
What can we all do? Well, I think fundamentally we have to remember the power that we all hold as citizens. I mean, ultimately, it's the community that hires and it's the community that fires politicians. We can do that every 4 years, sometimes a little bit earlier at a federal level. But it's a significant power that we have, and I think what we need to do is ensure that we vote for candidates and parties that will stand up for heritage. And what I'd encourage people to do coming away from today is to have a look at the policy platforms of the different political parties and candidates, to write to the Minister or their local Liberal Member of Parliament and ask them why they weren't here and what their views are on heritage. And also to think very carefully before casting your vote, recognising that there's an important contest that voters will face in the House of Assembly over who will form government, and also a very important contest in the Legislative Council in the upper house around who will hold the parties to account and who will ensure that the next government is held to account and takes action on these things. So important considerations, but fundamentally we have a lot of power as citizens, and let's use it.
Thank you. And finally and briefly, Dr. Close from the Australian Labor Party.
So little to add. We need the community to stand up regardless of who's in government. It tends to work if people stand together and have right on their side, have science and logic and truth on their side. And so never stop fighting regardless of who's in government. At the same time, because we're about to have an election, please look very carefully. It is my common experience of being the only major party in these kinds of events. David Spears wasn't at another event I was in last week. And the minor parties, the crossbenchers, have an enormous amount to contribute and can often push issues and push governments. But who's in government really, really matters. So have a careful look at the two major parties as well as the small parties, and make sure that you feel that you have some trust, that you can invest in that party being more likely to do the right thing, as well as looking for those independent voices on the sidelines. And not having the Liberals here, I think, has been an insult to people who care about heritage, and probably tells you all you need to know. But I would say that, wouldn't I? But participate and stand up regardless. Labor, Liberal government, minority government, whatever it ends up being, care about your local area, care about culture, care about heritage. Often things will go your way if you do so well.
Thank you for those last words. As the chair, I thank the panellists for being so cooperative, and I now hand back to the President of the National Trust, Paul Ledbetter.
Thank you, Christine. And I'd like to just thank again the honourable members, Dr. Susan Close, Robert Sims, Frank Pangello and Sam Juluk for their time and their contributions tonight and participation in this forum. It's interesting to me listening to the discussion and the answers given by the four people before us that there is a lot of synergy, and clearly all of you have a strong interest in retaining heritage, and that I think that's a very positive thing. I will reiterate, we did ask Minister Spears to be a participant tonight, and he said he couldn't come, he had another appointment. So there was that opportunity given, and I agree. I think it is a pity we haven't had a representative of the government here today to put their particular views on a number of the very, I think, important questions that were asked. I'd also like to thank Christine Trenorden for her role as the moderator. Christine has spent a lot of time looking at the questions that were submitted by people in conjunction with the National Trust and working out which questions would be put to each of the panellists. And I thank her for her time and commitment and her help tonight with the moderation of this debate or this forum. Finally, I think I should thank everyone, all the participants who have logged on tonight to listen, and a lot of people have made points and asked other questions and made particular points during the course of the discussion. That will all be recorded, and I am sure the National Trust will be following up on a lot of the material that's been provided tonight and putting more out about that. But I suppose in closing, I'd just say I am certainly feel a warm feeling in my heart and not in my feet. So it's not, I'm not having fire applied to them, but I do feel quite positive listening to the comments and the responses that have been given tonight. And again, I thank you very much for your participation. It's been the National Trust is very much appreciated. And I should also say thank you very much for the very positive comments that have been made by all panellists about the National Trust and its role in relation to Ayers House. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
Thank you to everybody who made those comments.
Democracy is a great thing, isn't it? This has been wonderful. Thank you.